We met over Instagram because of a previous episode with Connor Dennis, and he had this cool little rock lock that he showed me, and then I immediately went and bought them because they are super sick. And we were chatting before. My whole thing now is like the final 1%. So
Sure.
like how can you add like 1% more of efficiency or like dial something in? And these things are like by far the coolest and best solution I've ever seen.
I appreciate
for
that.
tuning locks. Talk to me about the whole thing, because
Yeah.
you invented it, created it, and you said it was one of your best stoned ideas.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Connor and I go way back. So I was sending Connor prototypes in 2020 or maybe early 21. So we were in the middle of COVID. It was literally December 2020. The world was shut down. It was like not even cool to hang out with your homies. But I have a friend who I grew up with. He builds robots for a living, and he lives in LA now as well. And I was like, yo, dude, let's just hang out. Like, I'm so bored. And so I went over to his house, and we were just messing around, having some drinks. And he had like 4 different 3D printers. And he's like, do you want to make something? And I was like, dude, I've always had this idea. Like, nobody's been able to solve this problem of drums detuning. A handful of people have tried, but in my opinion, they've failed. And so I wanted to make my own. And so we started working on these. We made the first prototype. They look like this. They're a half moon. You probably can't see from there, but the first prototype actually had a square inside of it because we measured a tension rod and we drew up a design and it fit. And I was like, holy shit, like these actually work. And I was like, wait a second. Well, the tension rod has to be like basically a flat side has to be parallel with the hoop for this to really work. So let's try an 8-point star. Okay, we did that. That worked. I was like, damn, all right, well, let's try a 12-point star. That worked, and we figured that was kind of the threshold of like, it's not going to strip, but it still kind of catches the corners of the tension rod. And I invented them, and I started sending prototypes out to all my friends who were pros, and they all were like, dude, you're onto something here. Like, do it. So made a real business, got a real injection mold, did the thing for real, and we launched a year and a half ago, March of last year. We officially launched March of 2022. And it's been amazing. I feel like a lot of drummers, especially ones who kind of know what they're talking about, love them.
Yeah,
yeah, it's been.
Dude, like I said, when Connor was like, hey, this is the thing. He's like, check it out. And I was like, well, that's absolutely sick. Because, you have like tuning locks before, which is like the little plastic square.
Sure.
But you nailed it, right? It's like you spend all this time tuning, getting the perfect pitch, getting where you like, and then the tuning peg, you got to turn it an eighth of a turn. That's dumb.
Right, and also like the classic like lug locks that everybody's been using forever, the little rectangles that are made out of a soft plastic.
They also strip out.
No, they strip out because it's a circle. You're sticking a square into a circle, and the idea is that circle bends around the square, but the problem is that it strips immediately, first of all. Second of all, they cut your knees. So I have friends with scars. I sent some to Alex Shellnut from A Day to Remember, some prototypes. And his first thing he said to me was, wow, I'm really glad they're rounded because they don't cut my knees. He's short. So I love Alex. His knees get caught by the corners of those things. And I've heard of people cutting their fingers on them too, like on the side of a thing.
I guess that makes
so
sense.
that's why I rounded them. I wanted them to be flush with the drum. And my business partner, Matt, really helped me bring them to life. And I've taken my whole idea. It's been word of mouth. Like drummer world is all word of mouth. So I sent them out to a bunch of big drummers and drum techs and posted about them a lot on Instagram and ran some Instagram ads. And people seem to really like them. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, I put them on a snare I was having problems with. It's just like, in my left hand, those bottom 3 always want to like fall out. And I put it on, and I swear, like, that snare does not come out. It doesn't come out.
I don't doubt it. And
it's awesome.
And talk about getting 1% closer or like making your life easier. So I'm teching myself on this tour, and I've drum teched myself a million times. And a part of my process every day, because I have to wake up early and build my kit every day, I want to do the least amount of work possible, right? So, I mean, I was already having the trouble of like my drums falling out of tune, especially my snare during sessions or shows. But now it's like, dude, the amount of stories I hear, friends be like, I got home from tour, I tuned my snare 1 time, or I tuned it twice, or, because if you're not a hard hitter, like let's say you're in a death metal band or something, right? And you're just like kind of tapping your drums for a month. You don't, no knock on that. That's just how that's how it's played.
Yeah,
play triggers, whatever. They're not hitting very hard.
Right.
A lot of those guys won't really, they won't change a snare head for a whole tour. They'll use a Kevlar head or something and not touch it. With rock locks, they literally will not touch their snare for an entire tour, which is psycho to me. So for me, makes my life a little bit easier, but also I don't have to worry about my drums dropping out of tune anymore, which is awesome.
Yeah, so. And I want to make sure that we talk about the mechanics of what's happening. So, and this is my experience too.
Sure.
The way that it goes, right, is you put this, star thing right on, and then you get tension, and we'll get it in the overhead. You can kind of, right up against the hoop. So
right. Yeah.
It's just like it's there in any position, and I love the fine tune nuance that you get out of it. It's like you can get a little micro thing, which is
and also
I think what's making it work.
Yeah, I think like lefty loosey, righty tighty, right? When you're hitting a drum really hard, and here's a misconception. A common misconception is, if you play really nice drums, they won't go out of tune. Wrong. Anybody with a brain knows. Like the Black Beauty is one of the most recorded drums of all time. There is no drum that falls out of tune faster than a Black Beauty.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so there you go. There is a very, very, very fine line between rock locks working and not working. That's why I had to make two sizes. There's the 49s and the 53s. The 49s, it stands for 4.9 millimeters. That's the size of the top of the tension rod. 53s is 5.3 millimeters, right? And the reason I'm telling you this is because that's a 0.4 millimeter difference. We're talking hairs.
Yeah.
And the reason it was so hard to nail is because it has to be loose enough that you can get it on the tension rod, but tight enough that it stays on the tension rod when you're smashing the drum. And in my opinion, I think that's why nobody had really figured out a good option. There's people who have to use rubber bands to hold things down. I'm not going to name the brand, but there's other options that are they're not as good.
Right,
so.
And you want it to be, no pun intended, a turnkey solution.
Sure,
this
exactly.
This is the keeping the key from turning.
Yeah.
It's super smart. It's super great. And
appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Spread the love.
Spread the love. Rock lock.
I bought them.
You did, yeah.
And I wish I would have met you ahead of time because you were going to send me some.
I'm still going to send you some. Don't worry.
Awesome.